Chances are you probably already knew that the Flintstones used to sell cigarettes.
The Flintstones, brought to you by Winston.
And if you didn't know, surprise I guess,
Tastes good like a cigarette should.
the Flintstones, they used to be sponsored by Winston cigarettes for their first 2 seasons. But they were not selling cigarettes to kids. The sitcom-style animated comedy hit started out as a primetime television show, and their original target demographic was more adult in nature.
Keep your hubby happy when he's a little chubby. He's a happy pappy.
And if you already knew about the Flintstones selling cigarettes, this probably isn't news to you, but there is so much more to it. A quick Google search provides a wide variety of reasons as to why the Flintstones quit smoking. Many of these theories point towards the Flintstones quitting tobacco as a pivotal point in the public attitude towards smoking, but I think they're getting that all wrong.
That is good smoking.
I mean, if you just look at this graph of smokers per capita over the decades, the Flintstones' entire first 6 seasons ran during the peak of Americans smoking. So why did the Flintstones really stop slinging cigs after 2 seasons? I think the answer can be found here. Look at this little golden children's book from 1961. What do you notice about the cover? Do you see the boy? The Flintstones, they have a girl, and they've always had a girl. So why is there a boy instead of a girl on the cover? The answer to this question is also the answer to why the Flintstones really quit smoking.
I hate to see them work so hard. Yeah, me too. Let's go around back where we can't see them.
It is true that the Flintstones' original target audience wasn't kids, but this actually is not unique for animation at the time. Look at these cartoons from the 20s and 30s. These risque, crude, and hyper-sexualized animations were all from a time called the pre-code era. These cartoons may seem tame by today's standards, but I can assure you that people were losing their dang minds in the 20s and 30s. And these cartoons were deemed inappropriate enough to warrant the issue of something called the Motion Picture Production Code Censorship Guidelines. This is commonly referred to as the Hays Code. The Hays Code prohibited nudity, profanity, excessive violence, and interracial relations and homosexuality. Make America great! Again? But even after the Hays Code was enacted, animators were still largely interested in pleasing adults. They even used Daffy Duck for World War II era propaganda. But something happened after the Second World War. After the war, there was a technological boom created from all of the wartime innovations. Technologies like computing, jet engines, nuclear energy, and televisions were all impacted. In 1947, there were only a few thousand TV sets in all of American homes, but this number would jump to 12 million in 1952, and by 1957, half of all homes had television sets. However, by the time the first season of the Flintstones aired in 1961, the number of TV sets in American homes jumped up again to more than 90%. Americans weren't just buying TVs, they were in the middle of an economic boom, and as you can see in these charts, the median household income had been steadily increasing year by year. Not only were Americans making more money, they also had more kids because of the post-World War II baby boom. So you had this cultural landscape going on, where there were more TVs, more children, and expendable income. Making weekly cartoons was also becoming easier because of something called limited animation. This was a concept widely adopted by pioneers in the field like William Hanna, Joseph Barbera, and Chuck Jones. Instead of painstakingly drawing each cell by hand, animators were starting to use one background the artist would place a cell on top of to move characters through scenes. This style is most noticeable in the Flintstones whenever they drive somewhere. You'll notice in the clips on the screen that the characters keep driving past the same exact house over and over and over again. But no one seemed to notice, or maybe they just didn't care because it's all about the story, baby.
So we do everything in color. One of these days we're going to see everything that we've done in color, and I think it's going to be quite exciting.
So you had all of these different cultural ingredients, and they came together to create the perfect conditions for advertisers and marketers to target kids. Animators might very well be artists who make things from a place of pure inspiration, but they also need to make money for their network or they'll get canceled. Case in point, remember the book from the beginning of the video? I think this is a perfect representation of the beginning of marketing to kids in America, but why is that? Let me explain. At the beginning of season 3, Winston Cigarettes stopped being a sponsor to the Flintstones, and they were replaced by a kid-friendly sponsor, Welch's. The Flintstones went through something that in contemporary culture you'd call a rebrand. They changed their theme song and they started focusing on a younger audience. Then, on January 25th, 1963, the 19th episode of the third season of the Flintstones aired, and it was called The Surprise. In this episode, Wilma surprised Fred with the news that they were going to have a baby.
I'm gonna have a baby! Fred's gonna have a baby?
Since this was prehistoric times, the sex of the baby would not be revealed until it was born. When I was reading through American television history articles, I read that the hype surrounding the Flintstones baby story arc was said to rival that of the pregnancy arc from I Love Lucy.
Cranky.
TV stations all around the globe held contests awarding prizes to people who would pick names and guess the height, weight, and sex of the baby. With all of the buzz surrounding the arrival of the new baby, it only made sense that a toy would be launched at the same time. That's just good marketing, guys. And this is where the Flintstones family on the cover of the little golden book starts to make a little more sense. The Flintstones were originally slated to give birth to a little boy named Fred Jr. So why the change? It was a strategic move made by Ideal, the toy company that made the original Flintstones doll. They set up a pitch meeting with Hanna-Barbera to change the sex of the baby from a boy to a girl because girl dolls sell and boy dolls not so much. So after a successful marketing campaign, baby Pebbles was born during an episode titled Blessed Event, which was the 23rd episode of the third season. The Pebbles doll was a massive success, bringing in $3 million during its first 2 months alone. Just for a frame of reference, the first Barbie doll, which is considered widely successful, sold $350,000 in its first year. So now whenever you see a retro clip of Fred Flintstone puffing on a cig, you wouldn't be wrong to see it as a sign of shift in marketing to children instead of a symbol of American health.
And grapes are rich in levulose, the natural energy food you athletes need.
Yeah, and I love that good grape taste.
And that's it for this video. If you liked the video, which I'm assuming you did because you're still here, unless you're hate watching me, and that's fine I guess, but nonetheless, do me a favor and subscribe. It's a free way for you to say, hey, keep going you weirdo, I kind of like what you're doing. And if you have ideas for videos or topics, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you again soon. Peace.